Let's play a game, shall we? Imagine yourself in a parallel universe. In that world, you're watching a TEDx talk happening somewhere in Brussels. If you were to sit next to someone you didn't know before coming, raise your hand if you believe you would have taken the time to get to know your sitting neighbor by now. All right? Let's carry on for a minute in that crazy, improbable world. Now, I want you to clap your hands if you would like to let yourself know that you may be missing, right now, an opportunity to meet someone that could somehow change your day. What a game, huh? Luckily, we can make reality much better off than a game, right now. So, take a moment. Have a look on your left, on your right. Go ahead. Yeah? Take a moment to eye contact that intriguing stranger sitting next to you. Shake your hands, exchange names if you feel comfortable. Realize that together you have the power to overcome social expectations. That's brilliant. We're breaking the ice. You see, that's what we want, getting the room on fire. The game is just a spark, but the wind spreading the fire comes from each of you, trusting one another, demultiplying the power of living the now. You know, at times, magic can be much more about followership than leadership. We'll get back at this. When I was 16, I was lucky enough to be sent in a camp for 1 month in the US. It was the first time ever I took an airplane. I was sitting on 25A, right next to the window. Before taking off, the guy sitting next to me asked if we could exchange seats between me and his friends so that they could be together. I refused. We didn't know each other. It felt wrong doing anything else than what was expected from me, sitting on 25A. They were not happy. I was. 8 hours. 8 long, endlessly painful hours, sitting next to my unhappy neighbor, not daring to go to the bathroom, nor to pick the lunch I missed. 8 hours, staring by the window. That's an actual shot from that day. I have many of these, looking quite all the same. So, could this trip have been better? Was there a way to cast the clouds, or did it have to happen that way? Overall, could we sometimes be happier by accepting not to know where the wind carries us and take advantage of it? Let's take an example. A basketball team. I used to play when I was young. I loved it. You know, when you're part of a basketball team as a kid, it's the chaos on the field. And then the more you grow, the more the coach will start teaching the team about tactical moves. Basically, the team leader would show a number, and then the whole team will start moving accordingly to create a shooting opportunity. Points become much more efficient, much more predictable, yet less exciting too. And at some point, you realize how much you crave each time to just catch the ball unexpectedly, run to the opposite side of the field, and hit a shot, feeling the cheers, the adrenaline, the surprise. I would have kept playing basketball my whole life that way. But, you know, teams have to optimize for a more systematic, a more efficient, a more predictable way of answering unexpected situations. And the more we grow in life, the less rooms we leave for unknowns, for unexpected situations. There's a concept called the circle of influence, from the book The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. At heart, the book tells you how to invest your time and energy effectively. First, you have the circle of control. This circle includes all the elements that you can directly control. Putting your time on this ensures that you have more personal responsibility, a more proactive behavior. Next, the circle of influence, including all these elements that you can affect, but not directly control. And last, the outermost circle, the circle of concerns. It includes all these issues that affect you and over which you have no control, no power, no influence. Your time should not be wasted on things that you cannot change. And as an ex-management consultant, I can tell, successful people, successful companies, successful basketball teams, they all focus on these inner circles. The philosophy is simple. You want to put most of your time on the few key factors that will produce the biggest impact. It's the so-called 80-20 principle. 80% of results come from 20% of causes. Right. But what about the remaining 20%? What about everything happening in the circle of concerns? Is this being naive to care for it? I used to think so, until my grandfather taught me differently. He was a talented pianist. That's actually how I met my grandmother. Back in the days, when you would pass by their house, you would always hear him play the piano. Yet as he grew older, he started to struggle reading music sheets and he lacked coordination. Little by little, playing the piano shifted from a pleasure under control to a concern. And for years, the piano remained dusty, and we didn't hear the sound of it. Until one night, one Christmas evening. We were celebrating with the whole family, enjoying good food, drinking good wine, and at 1 in the morning, right after the dessert, I saw my grandfather standing up, going to the piano, and he started playing a valse. We could not believe it. His fingers were playing like he was 20 again, without his mind realizing it. Some of us started dancing. The joy on his face was priceless. That night, my grandfather taught me that every coin can be flipped, from a circle of concern into a circle of trust. This simple flip of mindset is about creating a place where you dare trusting in the unknown. You let go some control to find joy and purpose in living and loving the now without the anxiety of making it perfect. Playing basketball without full anticipation. Acting on what we can control is often right, but not always. Effectiveness, yes, but not systematically at the expense of happiness. You know, there is value in letting go the K, from control freak to control free. Going on holiday without sticking to a plan. Going out in a bar and have a drink with strangers. Sitting by the piano and see where your hands take you. Right. What about work? How to reconcile letting things go in a world dictated by KPIs, procedures, and processes? How to create effectiveness that is not detrimental to happiness? Well, on the bright side, we can only do better. You know, according to a recent global survey, only 13% of people are actively engaged at work today. The vast majority is passive, and the rest is actively disengaged. Knowing that you and I spend 1/3 of our life working, the baseline is full of opportunities. And we already know part of the answer. Back in the day, Karl Marx pointed out to job specialization. In simple words, the more specialized your job, the more disconnected the worker from the bigger picture. So as a result, companies worked harder. They wanted to clarify their purpose, their mission, to make it relatable to all employees. Yet again, only 13% of people are actively engaged today. So making it purposeful helps, but is not enough. And as a chief of staff today in a large company, I had the chance to witness the management confronted to the very same question. How to truly inspire people and engage them so to boost performance and create value for the company. A year and a half ago, our CEO broadcasted a message to all employees. And he didn't talk about performance, he didn't talk about engagement. He first started by acknowledging the struggle that management is going through to make all the right decisions towards better performance. Daring to be vulnerable, he asked people to share their thoughts on two questions. First, what should be our target level of performance? And second, which actions should we take to get there? In few days, hundreds of answers were collected. The whole organization was mobilized, forming groups around what soon became 30 initiatives. All of a sudden, people were actually willing to work on better performance. It was crazy. It flipped the coin for the management, from a concern into simply trust in people. And the results were astonishing. Out of 30 initiatives, not a single new idea. Not one. No, the merits were in the why, definitely not in the what. Because people co-owned the project, they were radically more engaged. For us, winning the race towards better performance meant letting go some control, for people to use their own compass, not to follow the management's GPS, even if it meant taking exactly the same routes. So, letting things go can be valuable on many occasions, personal, professional. As a matter of fact, between you and I, when I prepared for this talk, I wondered, should I have a proper closing, or should I illustrate my point on the go? Come with an idea and see where this takes us. I was recommended by many not to go that way. And it makes sense, right? I mean, it's not because you can control things that you always should, right? There's magic in letting things go unknown. Now, just to be clear, I'm not telling you to look for happiness in trying to rob a bank and see what happens. Of course. We need control and influence in our lives, just not systematically at the expense of happiness. If it sounds familiar, it's because it is. One of my favorite philosophers, Friedrich Nietzsche, coined the idea in the 19th century, amor fati, literally the love of fate. Amor fati, it's an invitation to let go of resentment, regret, and resistance to the flow of life. It's about finding joy, peace, purpose, by embracing the entropy of our everyday lives. So this philosophy is not a new idea. It's just an old one that merits reintroduction in our modern ways of living. And unfortunately, most of the time, no one will be there to tell you when to let things go. Rather the opposite. You'll need to sense the wind. After 1 month in the US, I had to fly back to Brussels. Unfortunately, because of a storm, I missed my connection in Atlanta. And at the gate, a guy had missed the same flight for Brussels. He saw me, quite young, alone, lost, so he offered me to stay with him. Now, you're familiar with my younger self and my exceptional abilities to deal with strangers. At that time, I was not ready for another 8 hours episode. It felt right trusting him. His name was Frank. We went on for a coffee, then for a dinner. He told me about his life, his work, his kids. I told him about my studies, my aspirations. We had a great time. I am so grateful not being naive that day, not putting that guy into a circle of concern, but into a circle of trust. So, next time you'll face the unknown, remember, magic is not always in the leadership you'll demonstrate, but sometimes also in the followership you'll embrace. Flip the coin. It's just like a game. Sometimes the key to happiness may be sitting right next to you. Thank you.